She smirked. "You're just jealous of my new man," I said, thrilled actually. When her so-called happiness was arrested for bigamy, and I showed up in court as his other wife's lawyer, that jealousy theory vanished. I, 32 male, am a family law attorney who just had the most professionally satisfying case of my career. My ex-fiancée, Natalie, 30, spent months telling everyone I was bitter and jealous of her new relationship. Turns out I wasn't jealous. I was just the only one who knew her Prince Charming was already married. Let me rewind. Natalie and I were together for 5 years, engaged for one. The relationship ended 8 months ago when I found out she'd been having an emotional affair with some guys she met at a conference. Donovan, investment banker, drove a Maserati, wore suits that cost more than my monthly mortgage. She swore it was just friendship, until I showed her the texts I'd seen pop up on her iPad. We shared an Apple ID for some subscriptions, messages about how she was his soulmate and how they were meant to be together. The breakup was swift. I moved out of our condo. She kept the ring, didn't want it back anyway, and we divided our stuff fairly amicably. I was hurt, but handling it like an adult. Within 2 weeks, she was posting pics with Donovan. Within a month, they were Instagram official. Within 3 months, they were engaged. Yeah, that stung a bit. But here's where it gets interesting. I'm a lawyer, specifically family law. I know how to research people, call it professional curiosity or residual hurt, but I did a basic background check on Donovan. The man was married, had been for 6 years, wife named Amara, 2 kids, house in the suburbs. But here's the thing, he wasn't separated or divorced. He was just married, living a complete double life. I sat on this information for a week, debating what to do. Then Natalie started her campaign. It began with subtle digs on social media. "So grateful to find a real man who knows my worth. And when you upgrade from a Honda to a Ferrari, I drive a perfectly nice Accord. Thank you." Then it escalated. She started telling our mutual friends that I was obsessed with her, that I couldn't handle seeing her happy, that I was probably crying into my law books while she lived her best life. The worst part? She showed up at my nephew's birthday party. My sister had invited her before the breakup and felt too awkward to uninvite her with Donovan, made a big show of their love, even announced their engagement to my family at my nephew's party. "I hope you can be happy for me, even though I know it's hard for you," she said loudly enough for everyone to hear. "Maybe someday you'll find what Donovan and I have." My sister later told me Natalie spent the whole party telling people I'd been texting her constantly, I hadn't contacted her once, and that she was worried about my mental health because I was struggling to accept her happiness. Donovan stood there smirking the whole time, arm around her, playing the part of the protective new fiancé. Even shook my hand with this condescending. "No hard feelings, right, buddy?" That's when I decided, fine, you want to play games? Let's play. I reached out to Amara through her LinkedIn, sent a professional message saying I had information regarding her husband that she needed to know. We met at a Starbucks. The poor woman knew something was off. Donovan's business trips had gotten more frequent. He'd been distant. But she never imagined he was planning a whole second wedding. I showed her everything: Natalie's social media, the engagement announcement, the wedding planning posts. The venue booking Natalie had tagged, everything. Amara didn't cry. She just got very, very quiet. Then she said, "I need a lawyer." "I happen to know one," I replied. Now, I don't usually take cases with personal connections, but Amara wasn't technically connected to me. She was connected to my ex's new man, and I specialize in divorce and family law. Plus, I referred the criminal side to a colleague who handles bigamy cases. Yes, bigamy is actually illegal. It's a felony in our state, up to 5 years in prison. The same week I agreed to represent Amara, Natalie sent out save the dates for her wedding to everyone, including me, with a handwritten note: "Hope you can make it, unless it's too hard for you." I RSVP'd yes, because by the wedding date, I had a feeling things would be very different. Update 1. Oh boy, has this escalated. Natalie's entitlement has reached astronomical levels and Donovan's house of cards is collapsing spectacularly. First, the legal stuff. Amara filed for divorce and refroze all of Donovan's assets. Turns out his wealth was mostly leveraged against properties owned jointly with his wife. The Maserati, leased under his company's name, which Amara co-owns. Those expensive suits, purchased with their joint credit cards. But the criminal case is where it gets juicy. My colleague who handles criminal law filed charges for bigamy and fraud. Donovan had used fake documents to apply for a marriage license with Natalie, claiming he was single. That's not just bigamy, it's also document fraud. Here's where Natalie's entitlement went supernova. Day 1 after Donovan's arrest, she called me 73 times. Not texting, calling. I didn't answer once. Finally, she left a voicemail. "You vindictive piece of shit. You couldn't handle seeing me happy, so you made up lies about Donovan. I know you're behind this. You're probably laughing with your lawyer buddies. Well, guess what? We're suing you for defamation and harassment. You're gonna lose your license." Day 2, she showed up at my law firm. Security had to escort her out after she started screaming in the lobby about how I planted evidence and forged a fake wife to break them up. Yes, she actually claimed I hired an actress to pretend to be Donovan's wife. The security footage is now evidence. Day 3, she started a smear campaign, posting on every legal review site that I was an unethical lawyer who stalks his ex-girlfriends and sabotages their relationships. Had to get those taken down with cease and desist letters. But here's the best part. She was still defending Donovan. Posted on Facebook, "These allegations against my fiancé are lies spread by a jealous ex who can't accept I've moved on." Donovan's ex-wife is clearly just bitter about their divorce and is conspiring with my ex to ruin our happiness. We will weather this storm together. Ma'am, there was no divorce. That's the whole point. Week 2, Donovan made bail. Natalie threw a freedom party to celebrate. Posted pics of them popping champagne with the caption, "Can't keep a good man down. Ready to sue everyone who tried to destroy us." Then she did something spectacularly stupid. She reached out to Amara. Amara forwarded me the messages. "Natalie, I know you're hurting from the divorce, but lying about Donovan won't get him back." "What divorce? We're still married." "That's the problem." "Nice try." Donovan showed me the divorce papers. "Those would be public record." "File number, please." "I don't need to prove anything to you. You're just bitter he chose me." "He didn't choose anyone. He lied to both of us." "You're pathetic. Using your kids to trap a man who doesn't love you." "That last message?" "Yeah, that's now evidence of harassment." Week 3, the preliminary hearing happened. I attended as Amara's counsel. Natalie showed up in a white outfit. Weird choice for court to support her man. The judge reviewed the evidence. Marriage certificate between Donovan and Amara, 2018. No divorce records found. Marriage license application between Donovan and Natalie with single checked. Proof he was living at both homes. Bank records showing he was financially supporting both households. Donovan's lawyer tried arguing it was a misunderstanding and that he thought his divorce was finalized. The judge wasn't buying it. "Mr. Washington, you're telling me you accidentally maintained two households, accidentally told your fiancé you were divorced, and accidentally filed false documents." But the peak entitlement came when Natalie stood up in court and said, "Your Honor, I'd like to address the court." "Judge, ma'am, sit down. You're not a party in this criminal case. But I'm the real victim here. These people are trying to steal my fiancé. Ma'am, sit down or you'll be held in contempt." She sat down, but kept muttering loud enough for court reporter to pick up. "This is ridiculous. Jealous exes, conspiracy." Donovan was bound over for trial. Bail continued with conditions, no contact with Natalie to prevent further fraud and GPS monitoring. Natalie's reaction outside the courthouse to reporters. "This is a witch hunt orchestrated by my ex who can't handle seeing me with a successful man. The truth will come out." Reporter, "But ma'am, the marriage certificate." "Fake. It's all fake. She's still wearing the engagement ring, still planning the wedding, still telling everyone I'm jealous." The criminal trial is next month. And guess who's been subpoenaed as a witness? Both me and Natalie. This is going to be spectacular. Update 2. The trial happened. I've been in a lot of courtrooms, but this one will stick with me forever. Natalie's complete breakdown was something to behold. First, let me update you on what happened between the preliminary hearing and trial. Natalie went into overdrive trying to save her perfect relationship. She, 1, started a GoFundMe for Donovan's legal fees titled "Help Us Fight Against Jealous Exes and False Accusations." It raised $135, mostly from her mom and her best friend. 2, hired a private investigator, her cousin with a smartphone, to prove Amara and I were having an affair. The evidence was a photo of us at Starbucks during our initial legal consultation with my paralegal present. 3, attempted to get ordained online so she could marry Donovan before the trial, thinking spousal privilege would apply. That's not how any of that works. 4, sent a formal cease and desist letter, written in Comic Sans, to Amara demanding she stop pretending to be married to my fiancé. Amara's actual lawyer had a field day with that one. Now the trial. Day 1. Prosecutor laid out the case. Pretty straightforward. Donovan was legally married to Amara when he proposed to and attempted to marry Natalie. The fake documents he submitted were clear fraud. Donovan's defense? He claimed he believed he was divorced because he and Amara had been spiritually separated. His lawyer actually said this with a straight face. Day 2. I testified as a witness for the prosecution. Just the facts. When I discovered the marriage, how I informed Amara, the timeline of events. Professional, clean, simple. Natalie stared daggers at me the entire time, actually mouthed liar repeatedly until the judge warned her. On cross-examination, Donovan's lawyer tried to paint me as a vindictive ex-boyfriend seeking revenge. Isn't it true you were devastated when Miss Hartley left you for my client? I was hurt by the cheating, yes, but I moved on. Yet you went digging into my client's background? I did a basic public record search. It took 5 minutes. His marriage license was literally the third Google result. The courtroom actually chuckled at that. Day 3. Amara testified, brought photos of their wedding, their kids, their life together. Tax returns showing married filing jointly for 6 years. Mortgage documents. Insurance policies. The works. The prosecution also played recorded calls between Donovan and Amara where he promised he was working late. On nights he was with Natalie. In one call, you can actually hear him say, "I love you too, baby," to Amara, while Natalie's Instagram from the same night shows them at dinner. Day 4. Natalie's testimony. Oh my God. She took the stand as a prosecution witness. Hostile. Wore a white pantsuit like she was getting married right there. Started crying before the first question. Prosecutor. Ms. Hartley, were you aware Mr. Washington was married when you began your relationship? No. He told me he was divorced. This is all a setup. Did you ever ask to see divorce papers? Natalie. I trusted him. That's what you do when you're in love. Not everyone is a paranoid lawyer like some people. Ms. Hartley, please just answer the questions. It got worse. They showed her messages where Donovan explicitly told her he was divorced and free to marry. Then they showed her the wedding planning emails where she wrote, "So glad you're finally free from that woman." Prosecutor. Who is that woman you're referring to? Natalie, his ex-wife, who is lying about still being married. But you've seen the marriage certificate. Forge. And the tax returns. Fake. And their children. Actors. The judge had to call it because people couldn't stop laughing. When court resumed, Natalie doubled down. Claimed I had orchestrated everything because I couldn't stand to see her happy. Said I probably paid off the courthouse to create fake records. Then came the moment that sealed everything. Prosecutor. If you truly believe Mr. Washington is divorced, can you explain why he's never spent a single night at your apartment? Natalie. He's traditional. He wanted to wait until marriage. But you posted photos from hotels together? That's different. How? Because. Because. And then she snapped. Because he had to go home to his kids. Okay. But lots of divorced dads live with their ex-wives for the children. It doesn't mean they're married. The courtroom went silent. So you knew he was living with Amara? Natalie realized what she'd admitted. Started backtracking frantically. No. I mean, he said she was just. It's not what it sounds like. Closing arguments. Donovan's lawyer tried one last Hail Mary, arguing that Donovan had intended to divorce and therefore wasn't technically committing bigamy. The prosecutor's response was brilliant. Your Honor, by that logic, I intend to pay for my groceries. So taking them without paying isn't theft. The verdict, guilty on all counts, bigamy and fraud. Natalie stood up and screamed. No, this is because of him pointing at me. He's jealous. He's always been jealous. I'm happy and he can't stand it. Security had to physically remove her while she screamed about corruption and jealous exes and how she was going to sue everyone. Donovan got 2 years suspended, 3 years probation, and $50,000 in fines. Plus, he has to pay restitution to both women for the money he defrauded. Final update. The aftermath has been exactly as messy as you'd expect. Donovan is now divorced from Amara for real this time. She got everything: the house, primary custody, alimony, and half his actual assets, which weren't nearly as impressive as he pretended. She sent me a lovely thank you card and a bottle of wine. But Natalie? Natalie has completely lost touch with reality. First, she tried to start a podcast called Surviving Jealousy When Your Ex Destroys Your Happiness. It lasted exactly 1 episode where she ranted for 45 minutes about the conspiracy against her. The comments were brutal. Girl, he was married. This is giving unhinged. Seek therapy immediately. The math ain't mathing, sis. She deleted it after 24 hours. Then she wrote a 20-page letter to the State Bar Association claiming I had abused my legal knowledge for personal revenge. They reviewed it and responded that representing a client in a legitimate legal matter isn't an ethical violation. She posted their response on Instagram with the caption, "Proof, proof, the system is rigged." But here's where the entitlement reaches its peak. She sued me. Actually sued me for intentional infliction of emotional distress and interference with prospective economic advantage, aka ruining her wedding. Her lawyer, the only one who would take the case, argued that I had deliberately destroyed her chance at happiness and caused her severe emotional trauma requiring extensive therapy. My response was simple. Discovery. See, in civil cases, both sides can request evidence. So I requested all communications between her and Donovan, her social media posts, her therapy records, since she claimed damage, financial records related to wedding planning. Her lawyer dropped the case within a week. Turns out discovery would have revealed. 1. She knew Donovan was married before I ever told Amara. Found texts where she told a friend he just needs time to leave his wife. 2. She'd been fired from her job for taking too much time off for the trial and her podcast career. 3. She'd spent $30,000 on a wedding that was never going to be legal. 4. Her therapy was actually a life coach who was telling her she was a victim of masculine jealousy. The case was dismissed with prejudice, meaning she can't refile it. Last I heard through the grapevine, she moved back in with her still post quotes about surviving narcissistic abuse, presumably meaning me. Tried to become a relationship coach. 0 clients. Still wears the engagement ring and tells people her fiancé is away on business. The absolute final straw came last week. I'm now engaged to a wonderful woman named Helena. Met her at a legal conference, ironically. We announced it on social media, and Natalie commented, "Wow, moving on so fast. Guess you're trying to fill the void after destroying true love. Hope she knows what she's getting into." Helena's response was perfect. "Thanks for the concern. By the way, congrats on your recent appearance in State v. Washington." The transcript was fascinating reading. Natalie blocked us both. So to answer her original accusation, was I jealous of her happiness? Nope. I was ecstatic. Ecstatic I dodged that bullet. Ecstatic she showed everyone exactly who she was. Ecstatic that justice was served. The jealousy accusation aged like milk in the sun, much like her engagement to a married man. Thanks for following this wild ride. Remember, if your ex accuses you of being jealous of their new relationship, maybe Google the new partner first. You might save someone else from bigamy. Edit. For everyone asking, yes, Amara is doing great. She started her own business with the divorce settlement and is thriving. We exchange Christmas cards now. Edit 2. Natalie apparently found this post and is threatening to sue me for defamation. My lawyer says good luck proving defamation when court transcripts are public record.